Hello everyone, and welcome to Debonair Cyber. My name is Devin, and in today's video, we're going to be continuing down the intro to Red Team track. In this machine called Paper, we're going to be going over some web enumeration, as always. We're going to go into some local file inclusion vulnerabilities, and then we'll wrap up with some Polkit exploitation. I hope you're ready. Let's get into it. Alright, so I think we're ready to get started here. We have our machine pulled up, Paper. We're going to click here to copy our target IP address, and we're going to bring it over here into our virtual machine. First thing we want to do is make sure that we have connectivity into the environment. So I'm going to move into my Hackbox and VPN directories and sudo openvpn into my specific OpenVPN file. You can download yours from Hackbox if you haven't already. We'll kick that off and enter that sudo password, and we're ready to go. And once again, you can get a reminder that you're in the environment here with that IP up in the top right if you're using Kali. All right, next thing we want to do is make sure we have a working directory for this machine specifically so that we can stay organized during our engagements. And we're gonna make a new directory using the -p so that we can make multiple folders at the same time, Paper and nmap, and then we'll move into there. Nmap. We're going to kick off a quick nmap scan. What we want to do is nmap all ports T4 to make it go a little bit faster, and then we'll paste in that IP, and we're going to let this run. Alright, so we got those results back. We can see here we have 3 open ports, 2280 and 443. So what we want to do from there, kick off another nmap scan with those specific ports, 443. And we're going to do some scripts and some service detections. And we want to output those into 3 separate files so that we can have them on file for later. And we're going to call those Paper after the machine. We're going to paste that IP here once again, and we're going to let that run. Alright, so it doesn't take too long for that scan to come back as well, and we have a little bit more information here about what we got going on. We can see here we have an Apache server powered by CentOS and an OpenSSL. That's where that 443 is coming in here, that SSL HTTP. Same CentOS server looks like. Doesn't look like we have much else really interesting here, so I think we should just go ahead and browse to this and see what we can come up with. We're going to grab that IP one more time and put that into our browser. Alright, so we come up to this HTTP server test page. We can see that this is confirmed to be powered by CentOS here. And other than that, this is just like a normal boilerplate, hey, you have it installed kind of page. We could do some directory fuzzing from here. One other thing that I want to try before we go into that is to open up Burp Suite and see if we can capture a request to this page and see if we might have anything interesting going on in the headers and that kind of thing. We'll finish kicking this off here. If you haven't already gotten Burp Suite installed on your version of Kali Linux, you can find that in one of my recent videos. I can go ahead and put a card up in the corner for that. And we're going to go ahead and kick off this proxy here. Set up our proxy on the browser, make sure our intercept is on, and then we will just reload this page. Okay, so with our intercept on, we can see that we've captured this request here, and we're just going to forward that through and go into our HTTP history there, and we can see that the response that we get here is a 403 forbidden. Interesting. And we see here this X backend server. It looks like we have a virtual host on this machine that is responding to our initial request. So what we can do is put this office.paper into our Etsy hosts file. We're going to copy that. Clear our terminal here, and we want to just echo that into our Etsy hosts file. I'm going to go ahead and back out of this nmap directory here. Clear again, and then we can do echo that IP address. The IP address is, we can go back over here to our page and grab it and paste that in. Want a space in between those two, and then we want to pipe that into sudo t tag a to append, and then we'll put that into the Etsy hosts file. Enter our sudo password, and then for a sanity check, you can tail that Etsy hosts file and make sure that you have pasted that in properly. So now that we've got that pasted into our Etsy hosts file, we want to go to that page, office.paper. Oh, still got our proxy set up here. We can go to intercept, and we can make sure that intercept is off so that it doesn't keep doing that to us. And we'll disable the proxy on this side. And we come up with this Blunder Tiffin Paper Company. We're going to poke around on here for just a little bit and see what we can dig up. Okay, so we've poked around for a little bit here, and we found ourselves on this feeling alone page. Sorry everyone, right? We see this comment, Michael, you should remove the secret content from your drafts ASAP, as they are not as secure as you think. This is interesting. So I wonder from here then if we can figure out, okay, proudly powered by WordPress, all the way down here at the bottom. That is interesting. So what we want to do from here now is see if we might be able to find a version number. An easy way to accomplish this is through a browser extension called Wappalizer. If you haven't already used it, I can show you right now how we're going to go ahead and get that downloaded. So we can go to our add-ons manager here in Firefox, and we'll search for that. Wappalizer. It's going to look like this purple icon. And we want to just add this to Firefox. That's going to do a quick download. From here we'll click add, and we'll say OK. We can see that confirmation that Wappalizer has been installed. Awesome. And another thing we can do is go into our extensions and make sure that this is pinned to the toolbar. From there, all we have to do is click on it, and it'll give us all kinds of information on the sites that we're visiting. So with this installed now, we can go back to the other page and check our Wappalizer and see that this is indeed WordPress 5.2.3. Let's see what we can pull up on a quick Google search. 5.2.3. Okay, so after a quick Google search on that, we end up on this exploit DB page. So far, we know that adding this query string static equals 1 to a WordPress URL should leak its secret content. Well, that's interesting. So that makes me want to go ahead and just copy this and add it to the end of our URL here and see what we might be able to come up with. So we see this test page come up. Please remove secret from drafts. And at the bottom of this page, we can see this secret registration URL of new employees, HTTP chat, office paper, and we're just going to copy this and open it in a new tab here. Right, so because this is a new virtual host, we do have to add this into the Etsy hosts file. So we're going to copy that and add it at the bottom of our Etsy hosts file. Awesome, and then we should just be able to reload this. Okay, and that brings us up to this rocket.chat page. This is interesting. We can see name, email, password. It looks like we can register for a new account. So it makes me wonder if we might be able to just go ahead and fill this stuff out. I'm going to use some our super secure password here. We'll register for a new account. Don't save. Use this username, that's fine. Okay. Okay, so we end up on this general page here. And we see this recyclops. Now we do see this room is in read-only mode, so we're not going to be able to post anything here. We see this recyclops that he can do some interesting things here. What time is it? What new files are in your sales directory? Okay. We can also send direct messages to recyclops. That's even more interesting. So I wonder then if we can just search for recyclops. There he is. And we can send him a direct message. Okay. Invalid command. Okay, help. And this just displays that same message back to us again. Okay, so it looks like he wants for us to say recyclops file test.txt. Okay, so we can see that home Dwight sales test.txt, that it does not exist. I think we might be able to test for something here. Recyclops file ... So this should give us a directory listing for the Dwight or Dwight sales. Okay. Okay, so now we know that we can at least reach directories that are outside of where he's pointing by default. So let's see if we can actually just list that out. Remember, we need the recyclops list ... And here we have a full listing of everything in that home directory. That's interesting. Okay, so now we've got this directory listing of the Dwight home directory. We can see a couple of interesting things here. First of all, the user.txt file, we could just go ahead and cat that out if we wanted to, but we still don't have access to the machine, so that's kind of what I want to work on for right now. We also see some interesting directories here. This Hubot and Hubot history are interesting. It makes me wonder if they have something to do with this Rocket Chat. So we can just do a quick search on this. Okay, Rocket Chat Hubot. Okay. I wonder though if it might be able to tell us if there's a password file. Okay, scrolling down this page a little bit, we can see configuring your bot in a local deployment. The following can be set in a .env file. And we can see here we've got some environment variables, including a Rocket Chat password in the .env file. So let's see if we can actually dig this up from our local file inclusion vulnerability. So again, we want to use recyclops list, and then we can say /Hubot. Okay, and we can see this .env file here. Awesome, we know that exists, so we can recyclops file this time because we want to get a file ./Hubot and .env. All right, we can see this rocket chat password, just like we expected to, is Queen of Blades 23. Interesting. So we have this that we can put into a text file for right this second until we get more information. And we all know that there's one way that we can find out what users are on the system. We just need to cat out the etc password file. So with that, we need recyclops. This will be file because we're getting a specific file. Etc password. All right off the bat here at the bottom, we can see the Rocket Chat user has a configured with bin bash. That's interesting. And we also have Dwight that is configured with a bin bash. So we could spray this password across both accounts. All right, so we're back in our terminal here, and we're just going to SSH into, we'll try Dwight first at 10.10.11.143. Yes, make sure we've got this password copied correctly still. Paste that in. And it looks like we are SSH'd into this machine. And we can ls our user.txt here. Alright, so now that we're on the machine, we can do some quick initial enumeration. We still have the password in our clipboard, so let's go ahead and do sudo l. Okay, pretty quick. Okay, we cannot run sudo on paper. That's good to know. We can run a quick id command and see that we're not in any special groups. And one other check that I like to run is netstat. And I like the ANO flags. That way we can see if there's anything being served on this machine that we couldn't see before. It's like we have this 8,033.06. Looks like there's some kind of MySQL running on here that we could go and enumerate to see if we have valid credentials for that kind of thing. See if we can dig up some other types of things. But for right this second, I think it would be best for us to run a tool called linpeas. That way we can get a very comprehensive set of information and tests run that we can then build off of for our privilege escalation. So I'm going to open a new tab here in my terminal. We're in the paper directory right now. I have already saved this linpeas tool into my tools directory. If you haven't already gotten linpeas, there will be a link somewhere up here for another video where I show how to actually achieve that. Alright, so I'm here in my tools directory, and you can see that I have the linpeas.sh file here. So I'm just going to start a quick Python server here in my tools directory, and we're going to do that on port 80. Awesome. So from here we can actually wget from the paper machine into my attack box. And remember, you'll want to use your own IP for this. Again, reminder up in the top right if you need it. 14.4 in my case. We're already serving on port 80, so that's fine. And then we're looking for linpeas.sh. If you named it something differently, you'll have to put that name in there. And it will download the tool. And we need to also add the execution permissions once we get it on the machine. Change mod plus X linpeas. Awesome. And now we can just / and run that tool. We're going to let that run for a bit. Alright, so we've let linpeas run for a couple of minutes now, and we've scrolled back up through the output of this tool. If you're not used to reading the output of this, just trust me, it takes a little bit of practice, but it gives you a lot of really good information. In this case, we can see that the machine is vulnerable to CVE 2021-3560 in the output. This is at the bottom of this section here on executing Linux exploit suggester. And if we did a quick Google search on this CVE, we can find this proof of concept code for a polkit privilege escalation proof of concept. This is telling us that we have some optional parameters here for username and password. Those are important to know. The script will automatically detect possible time. We'll try to insert a new user. It does tell you the default credentials here, so that's good. If you decide not to use those, these are the default creds. And if the exploit ran successfully, then you can log in using this command, and you can spawn a bash shell as root using sudo bash. All right, so we're gonna actually copy this GitHub proof of concept into our machine here. We're gonna stop serving for just a second, git clone and paste that in. All right, so let's ls and move into there. So we can see here that the name of the file is actually poc.sh, and then we can start that Python 3 server. And we want to get wget poc.sh on our paper machine. Transfer that over, awesome. And then once again, we will need to add the execution permissions, change mod +x on that poc.sh. Awesome. Now we want to run the POC, and I'm going to specify username debonair and password cyber. Okay, we can see through the output of this it's saying unknown parameter. It's very important that you actually put in the parameters the way the tool expects for them to go in. So let's go back and hit an equals there after each one of these. There we go. Okay, so we can see at the end of this output that the insertion of the username has failed, and then we will have to run it again. Okay, so I did eventually have to run this a handful of times before the timing actually worked out. But you can see here that this poc.sh, u debonair, p cyber, and again these u and the username and password are optional parameters. We can see that the inserted username with UID 1005, inserting password hash, and does all this stuff successfully. Then you can su into the user that you created. Enter that password that you entered up here, and then once you log in, you see your prompt change, and then you can sudo bash. Once again, enter that password, and you find yourself on the root account. And from here, you can find the flag in the root directory. Alright, so I think that's just about going to wrap up today's video, but as a quick reminder, we did go over some web enumeration, a local file inclusion vulnerability in the Rocket Chat, and some polkit exploitation, this timing attack that we use to escalate our privileges on the machine. So I hope you had fun doing this machine. I know I did, and if you're enjoying the content here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.